Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Sword and Shield Movesets video. Today's video is going to be all about the Raven Pokemon Corviknight, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Corviknight is a Flying Steel type Pokemon with access to 3 abilities, the first of which being Pressure, which is an ability that makes it so that your opponent loses 2 PP instead of 1 every single time they damage you with an attacking move, and its second ability is known as Unnerve, which is an ability that makes it so that your opponent cannot consume any berries they might be holding. Lastly, its hidden ability is a new ability introduced into Generation 8 known as Mirror Armor, which has the unique effect of reflecting back any stat drops you might be inflicted with as a result of an opponent's ability or move. So for example, if your opponent were to go for a move like Shadow Ball, which has a chance to lower your special defense, if that chance does occur while you're holding the Mirror Armor ability, your opponent's special defense instead will be lowered instead of yours, which is very useful for a lot of different situations because so many moves have a stat drop as a secondary effect, especially some of the max moves that were introduced in this game as well. So this ability is incredibly unique and has some really awesome applications. As for its stats though, this Pokemon is insanely bulky with a base 98 HP, 105 defense, and 85 special defense. And that coupled with its Flying Steel typing, which has a ton of resistances and access to Roost for recovery, makes this Pokemon incredibly bulky and very difficult to take down. Offensively though, it has a base 87 physical attack, which isn't too bad and will allow it to use some of its powerful physical moves, but it only has a base 53 special attack, though it does get access to Nasty Plot, which can be very interesting to use with this Pokemon as well. But lastly, it has a base 67 speed, which isn't super fast or super slow. It's kind of on the faster end for Wally Pokemon like Corviknight, but you're generally going to want to run some speed on it anyway to allow it to just do a couple more things on the sets you're going to be using just a little bit better. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the first moveset that I have for you in this video. So for this first moveset, we're going to be running Corviknight as a defensive support Pokemon, either physically or specially defensive. So we're going to start this one off by giving it either an Impish Nature to boost its physical defense or a Careful Nature to boost its special defense, while both natures lower your special attack. And for the ability, either Pressure or Mirror Armor works here. As for the EVs, we're going to put 224 into its HP, 252 into either its defense or its special defense, depending on if you want to run it physically or specially defensive, and then putting the remainder 32 EVs into its speed stat. And this is the bare minimum speed that I would recommend on any Corviknight set, just because it allows it to outspeed base 70 speed Pokemon, and also gives it a little bit of an advantage over potentially other Corviknights that aren't running any speed. So this can be very beneficial as well, but 32 speed EVs is always what I'd recommend. If you want to use more to make it faster, by all means go ahead and do so, because that is also equally viable. But for the item on the set, we're going to either go with Leftovers to increase your HP at the end of every turn, or a Rocky Helmet, which works particularly well with the physically defensive variant of the set, as it will cause your opponents to take damage every single time they attack Corviknight with a contact move. But for the moves that you're going to be using, the first one that we have access to on the set is either going to be Taunt, to prevent your opponent from using any non-attacking moves that would either be setting up hazards, or setting up, or providing recovery to them, or running Defog here to allow this Pokemon to just remove the field of anything that's on it, such as hazards and screens. As for your second attack though, we can also run Defog here as well, to have Taunt and Defog, which is amazing utility by itself, or go ahead and run Iron Head as a stab steel move, or U-turn here as well, to give this Pokemon the ability to switch in and out of battle very freely. And this Pokemon doesn't have a ton of counters because of how good it is, so having U-turn is actually amazing because it'll allow you to scout pretty much the only thing, or only couple things on your opponent's team that can actually deal with Corviknight, and this will allow you to switch in an appropriate counter, making this Pokemon even more threatening throughout the battle. As for its third move though, we can go ahead and run Brave Bird or Drill Peck as a stab flying move, Brave Bird obviously being the stronger option that is recoil though, but Drill Peck being a non-recoil weaker option that you can use, or going with Iron Head to be just your steel type stab. And then for your last move on the set, obviously going for Roost, because this is a defensive set and having that access to recovery is incredibly important for allowing this Pokemon to sustain its HP throughout the battle. So all in all, this set has a ton of utility for supporting your team and just being a really awesome and amazing defensive wall that is very difficult to take down. As for this next moveset, we're going to be utilizing Corviknight again in a supportive way, but this time as a dual screener. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a Careful Nature to boost its special defense but lower its special attack, and go with either the Pressure or Mirror Armor ability again. As for the EVs, we're going to give us our maximum mixed defenses, So we're going to put 224 into its HP, 92 into its defense, and 160 into its special defense, and then put the remainder 32 EVs into its speed stat, just to give it that little speed boost that I would recommend. And for the item on the set, we're going to go ahead and run Light Clay, which is going to extend the turns of the first two moves on the set, Light Screen, which boosts your team's ability to take special hits, and Reflect, which boosts your team's ability to take physical hits, from 5 turns to 8, giving you an immense amount of support. And this Pokemon is amazing at dual screening because it has such a great defensive typing, so it is very easily going to be able to switch in and set these screens up incredibly easily. Along with this though, we have Brave Bird, Drill Peck, and Iron Head as a stab option for allowing you to at least do some damage, and then again, lastly, running Roost to give you that much needed recovery to allow you to obviously take hits extremely well and heal off any damage you may be inflicted with, but also to allow this Pokemon a really solid way of just sustaining itself throughout the battle to allow it to continue to dual screen throughout the battle and support your team, which is absolutely phenomenal for a Pokemon like this. Moving on to the third moveset of this video, I'm going to be showing you a way to maximize use out of this Pokemon's pressure ability to stall out its opponent's moves very effectively. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a Careful Nature again to boost your special defense but lower your special attack, going with the pressure ability this time of course, and the same mixed defensive EV spread as the previous moveset. And for the item this time, we're going to want that leftovers recovery at the end of every turn to heal us up just a little bit. As for the moves though, this set can work in a variety of ways, but if you want to go for the maximum stalling capabilities, we're going to first want to run Protect to allow you to just have a free turn to stall out moves, which is very beneficial. And then we're also going to want to run Substitute to get behind a protective barrier to shield you from attacks and statuses, which then also helps you stall out moves a lot easier. Then for your third move slot, you're going to want to go ahead and run a stab option in the form of Brave Bird, Drill Peck, or Iron Head, and then for your last move, going ahead and running Roost to allow you to recover off any damage you may be taking while you attempt to pressure stall your opponent. Now those four options, in a row kind of allow for the maximum stalling capabilities. But if you don't want to run the set just purely as stalling, you have the option of also including Taunt or Defog on the set as well, just to give you that utility while also being a pressure stalling Pokemon. And this thing can do this incredibly well because, again, of its typing and its great defensive stats. So whether you are going for Protect to just stall out a free move, substituting, roosting off damage, which also helps because if you're behind a sub and you go for Roost and your opponent uses a move that might be super effective against flying types, you now lose your flying typing, which makes it so that your opponent might not even break your substitute. And then you can just continue doing this over and over and over again until your opponent really has no moves to hit you with. It's also important to note that if you do run Taunt on this set, this prevents your opponent from using any non-attacking moves which aren't affected by pressure, so your opponent is then forced to attack you, which was then going to stall out some move uses because of the pressure ability. So this set is very fun to use and can actually be very, very frustrating and annoying for your opponent to have to deal with, and one of the more interesting ways to utilize Corviknight's defensive capabilities. Moving on to some more offensive sets for Corviknight, I'm going to be showing off a powerful Choice Band set that is very surprising to run into. So we're going to start this one off by giving it an Adamant Nature to boost its physical attack but lower its special attack, or a Giant Nature to boost its speed but lower its special attack, and running either the Pressure or Mirror Armor ability. I personally though believe that Mirror Armor is the superior option here. For the EVs this time though, we're going to go ahead and maximize your physical attack and your speed stats, which is going to be including 252 EVs into both of those stats and then putting the remainder 4 into your defense. Now there can be some debate as to whether or not max speed is necessary for a set like this, because you could invest a little bit more into your HP to make you a bit bulkier, but overall it's a lot more surprising to run into a max speed Corviknight than it would be to run into one with a lot of HP investment, so this can take people off guard quite a bit more, which is kind of the goal of this set. And for the item, obviously the Choice Band is there to boost your physical attack while locking you into a move. Now with this set, we're going to go ahead and run Brave Bird and Iron Head as our main stab, flying, and steel options, but our third option is quite interesting in the form of Body Press, because this move is actually a fighting type attack that is based off of your defense stat as opposed to your physical attack stat. So it's going to be a little bit weaker in terms of damage dealing, but the main reason why we have this on the set is because if we were to Dynamax Corviknight, we would get access to Max Knuckle, which is an attack that increases your physical attack by 1 stage. And if you're doing this with a Choice Band set, obviously you have free range of whatever moves you want to use when you Dynamax, which is a really crazy mechanic. But in addition to this, we also have Brave Bird, which turns into Max Airstream, which boosts your speed stat. So we have a way on a Choice Band set to boost both your speed and your physical attack stat, which is absolutely incredible. But if you want to go for a more utility option, we have Defog, which is obviously really good regardless. So even this is a choice set, Defog utility can still be incredibly beneficial. But for our last move, we have U-turn again to allow us to weave in and out of battle, scout what our opponents are planning to do to deal with Corviknight, and also deal a little bit of damage in the process. Moving on to the fifth moveset of this video, I'm going to be showing off a powerful bulk up set for this Pokemon that at this point in time is honestly probably its most deadly moveset. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a Careful Nature to boost its special defense but lower its special attack, running either the Pressure or Mirror Armor ability, though I personally believe that Mirror Armor is better here again, and for the EVs, putting 224 into your HP, 252 into your special defense to max that out, and putting the remainder 32 EVs into your speed stat. Now again, with this particular set, you can argue for more speed as opposed to more HP, depending on what you want this Pokemon to outspeed, and especially if you were to Dynamax this Pokemon and make use of the speed boost you get from Max Airstream, because for example, my friend pointed out that if you run 40 speed EVs instead of 32, you can outspeed a Scarf, Rotom Wash at +3 speed after you've used Max Airstream 3 times. So there's a couple of little interesting applications to that, so if you want to run more speed, go ahead, though you will be sacrificing a little bit of bulk in the process. But for the item on the set, we're going to want to run leftovers regardless to increase our HP at the end of every turn while we attempt to set up with our first move on the set, which is Bulk Up, which will be increasing our physical attack and our physical defense by 1 stage, making you not only insanely bulky with the special defense investment that we're including on the set through the EVs and the nature, but also very physically bulky as well and very difficult to take down. So along with this, we're going to run one flying type move in the form of Brave Bird or Drill Peck. Again, it depends on if you want the stronger option that is recoil or the non-recoil option that is quite a bit weaker in Drill Peck. And then for your third attack, we have quite a few options here. We can run Iron Head to give you some dual stab action. We can run Power Trip, which is a very interesting option if you want to run this because it increases in power based on the number of stat boosts that you have, which you would be getting through Bulk Up and also potentially using Max Airstream if you Dynamax Corviknight because you get a speed boost from that as well, which can give you a really powerful additional Dark type option. We can also run Taunt here to prevent your opponent from using any non-attacking moves while you attempt to set up, which is absolutely incredible in the way that I personally run this set. Or even going with Substitute to give this Pokemon the ability to get behind a protective barrier to shield it from attacks and statuses while it attempts to set up. So all 4 of these options in this third move slot are absolutely incredible and give this Pokemon a little bit more variation in how you run it. And it's very difficult, honestly, to find a counter to every single variation of this particular moveset depending on that third move, which is very, very cool and makes this Pokemon insanely powerful. But again, we have Roost as our last option to allow us to recover HP while we attempt to set up. And like I said before, this set can get incredibly powerful very, very quickly and sweep teams by itself very easily if you have the opportunity and the chance to set up and boost your stats. And finally though, for the last moveset of this video, I have kind of a fun, especially offensive way of running Corviknight, as it does have access to a really great way of boosting its special attack. So we're going to start this one off by giving it a Modest Nature to boost its special attack but lower its physical attack, running again either Pressure or Mirror Armor here, but for the EVs this time, putting 224 into its HP, 252 into its special attack to max that out, and then putting those remainder 32 EVs into its speed stat, and again, you could potentially run more speed if you'd want to. But for the item, since we're going to be kind of like a bulky-ish setting up set, we're going to want leftovers for that recovery at the end of every turn. But for the first move, we're going to go ahead and run Nasty Plot, which is going to be a really great option for allowing this Pokemon to boost its special attack by 2 stages every single time we goes for it. Now this set is more kind of for the surprise factor, because everybody expects this Pokemon to be a physical attacker, and after a Nasty Plot boost, you can become very, very powerful, which is absolutely amazing for this Pokemon, as you're going to be hitting with the opposite side as you normally would, which again can be very surprising. But for the main flying type attack, we have Air Slash, which is a chance to flinch, which is very nice, or a less accurate but way more powerful option in Hurricane, which also has that chance to confuse your opponents as well, which is very, very useful. And both of these options are great for just a powerful stab flying type move. And for your secondary attack, we either have Flash Cannon here to just give you both a flying and a steel type special attack to make use of, but we also again have Taunt and Defog as utility options, which can be very beneficial as well on a set like this one. And for the last move, again, Roost is going to be there because we want to recover our HP as we attempt to set up, And just hitting with the special side of things on this particular set can be a bit more challenging, so we might take a little bit more damage in the process than we would on a physically offensive set. But this Pokemon does have access to a way of boosting its special attack, like this, and that makes it incredibly unique in and of itself for what it can do, because this Pokemon has a ton of other options as well, so this might be just a fun one to try out. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this video on Corviknight, so thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, as this Pokemon is honestly one of the biggest threats in the new metagame, which is really, really cool to see. So as always, everybody, though, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.